All right, strap in, everyone, because today we're taking a deep dive into some serious hockey strategy.
Oh, yeah.
You heard right. We've got a fascinating data set in front of us. 4 custom NHL 14 teams,
Okay.
20 players each,
Wow.
80 unique athletes ready to hit the virtual ice. You ran 2 simulated tournaments, and we're here to break down the results, see what happened.
It's like we're stepping into your own personal hockey laboratory, not just looking at numbers, but like trying to understand the vision behind these teams, like your strategic thinking as you built them. It's about uncovering those hidden gems, right? The unexpected performances, and maybe even revealing a bit about your coaching philosophy along the way.
Exactly. So let's introduce these contenders, right?
Okay.
First up, we have the Azure Bears,
Okay.
built for defense, a team that looks like they want to just suffocate their opponents.
Yep.
Then there's the Crimson Tigers, all about offensive firepower. We're talking goals, goals, and more goals.
Right.
And who could forget the Golden Eagles?
Yeah.
This team screams aggression, the kind that leaves opponents seeing stars.
Intense.
Intent is right. Finally, we've got the Verdant Deer, a balanced squad designed to adapt to any situation.
I like it. A balanced team. You never know what you're going to get.
But here's where things get interesting. The tournament results weren't exactly what you might expect based on those initial descriptions.
Oh,
The Verdant Deer, our balanced team,
okay.
took home the gold in one tournament, while the offensively minded Crimson Tigers clinched the other.
Interesting. You'd think the Azure Bears' defensive prowess, or the Golden Eagles' relentless aggression would have given them an edge.
Right. You'd expect like those defensively strong Bears or the hyper-aggressive Eagles to dominate.
Right.
But if we look at the goal differential, goals scored minus goals against, a different story emerges.
Okay. Yeah.
The Crimson Tigers boast an impressive +9,
Wow.
while the Azure Bears sit at -3, and the Golden Eagles at a disappointing -5. Even the Verdant Deer are just barely under at -1.
That goal differential really does jump out at you. Almost seems to be a better predictor of success than the team's, intended play style. It raises a question. Are those play style descriptions translating perfectly to the in-game AI?
Yeah.
Or are we seeing something more nuanced at play?
It's almost like the simulation is telling us that adaptability and the ability to consistently outscore opponents, no matter the style, are key.
Interesting.
So let's break it down, team by team, starting with those enigmatic Azure Bears.
Okay.
They were designed to be a defensive powerhouse.
Right.
But that -3 goal differential suggests things didn't quite go as planned.
Yeah, they were supposed to be shutting down opponents, but they actually let in more goals than they scored. Now, their goalie, Mina, put up a fantastic .928 save percentage.
Yeah.
That's elite level goaltending right there.
Seriously impressive.
Yeah.
She might have been the only thing keeping them in the game. But even with Minna standing on her head, they struggled. Their penalty minutes were surprisingly high for a defensively focused team, 158 for the tournament.
That's a great observation. Were they playing more aggressively than intended? Did the frustration of their offensive struggles lead to some undisciplined play? Maybe a combination of factors. We have to remember they only managed 20 goals throughout the entire tournament, tied with the Verdant Deer, who even played fewer games.
Okay, so maybe their defensive focus came at the expense of offensive production.
It's possible.
Let's move on to those goal-scoring Crimson Tigers. They definitely lived up to their offensive reputation, racking up a tournament leading 29 goals. Their roster is stacked with firepower.
Oh, yeah.
Devin Grazzo with 7 goals in just 8 games. Jell Elfkyle putting up 5.
Their offensive depth is undeniable. However, something else stands out to me. They only registered 94 hits in the entire tournament. The second lowest out of all 4 teams. Perhaps they were relying more on finesse and puck movement rather than brute force to generate those goals.
Makes sense. A high-flying offensive team doesn't necessarily have to be overly physical, but they also racked up a significant number of penalty minutes, 75 to be exact. Again, a little unexpected for a team built around skill and control. It begs the question, was there a disconnect between their intended play style and their in-game execution?
It's a fascinating thought. You envision this team as like a well-oiled machine dictating the pace with precision passing and clinical finishing.
Right.
But maybe, just maybe, their AI counterparts were channeling a bit more grit and aggression than planned. It's like that age-old coaching dilemma. How do you harness a team's raw talent while maintaining discipline?
All right, next up we have the Golden Eagles, the embodiment of aggressive hockey.
All
They
right.
had a rough go of it, finishing with a -5 goal differential.
Whoa.
And get this, they took the most shots out of all the teams, 230, but their shooting percentage was a dismal .056.
That's almost impressively bad.
I know, right?
It seems like they were all about quantity over quality. And their supposed star player, Alpha Jack, only managed 2 goals and a whopping 40 shots. We're talking a .05 shooting percentage. You almost have to admire that level of consistent inaccuracy.
Ouch, yeah, that's rough. Were they overextending themselves, leaving defensive gaps as they desperately chased every offensive opportunity?
It's possible.
Perhaps their aggression backfired, leading to more turnovers and odd man rushes against?
It's definitely possible. Their low face-off win percentage doesn't help either. Starting most plays without the puck puts them on the defensive immediately, which seems counterintuitive to their aggressive puck-hounding style.
It's like they were so focused on attacking that they forgot the other half of the game.
Yeah.
Now let's talk about the real surprise package of this tournament, the Verdant Deer, our champions of adaptability. They were designed for balance, yet they managed to rack up the most blocked shots in one of the tournaments, a whopping 90. Maybe they had a hidden defensive strength we didn't initially account for.
Their success is particularly intriguing. Unlike the other teams, they didn't have any standout performers in terms of points. Their leading scorer, Tiramisu, only had 6 points in the tournament. But as we look deeper, we see a team that might have thrived on their balanced approach and, dare I say, teamwork.
Their scoring was spread quite evenly. No single player dominating the score sheet.
Right.
Could this be the key to success in a simulated environment? Is this a case of the AI being subtly superior at playing a balanced style? This work is really interesting.
And this is precisely why we love diving into this kind of data. It's not always about the flashy stats or the obvious narrative. Sometimes it's about uncovering those hidden strengths, the unexpected synergies that lead to success. We're starting to see the real story unfold here, and it's one of strategic thinking, adaptability, and maybe a bit of luck.
All right, before we get too lost in the team dynamics, let's take a closer look at some individual performances that really jumped out at us.
Okay.
And we're not just talking about the top scorers here, but those players whose stats tell a unique story, raise questions, or maybe even hint at hidden potential.
Absolutely. For example, Phoebe Turner on the Verdant Deer finished the tournament with a mind-blowing 66.7% shooting percentage.
Wow.
Of course, that's only on 3 shots, so the sample size is small.
But still, 2 goals on 3 shots. You can't argue at that level of efficiency. Did she just get hot at the right time, or is there something more to her game that the stats aren't fully capturing? Was it a case of being the right player in the right place at the right time?
We also can't ignore Kenny Brodnoxy on the Azure Bears. He racked up a tournament-leading 39 penalty minutes. Was he playing an enforcer role, protecting his teammates, or was it just a case of undisciplined play? What's fascinating here is that he also managed 4 goals and 4 assists.
So he wasn't just a goon out there, he was contributing offensively as well. That adds another layer to the Azure Bears story. Were they trying to play a more physical, intimidating style than their initial defensive focus suggested? We've got a real mystery on our hands.
We do. And then there's Vakchat Smoke on the Verdant Deer, an 80 overall player on the third line. He managed to score one of their crucial goals despite his relatively, low rating and limited ice time.
A classic underdog story. Maybe he's a clutch performer who shines brightest when the pressure's on. Or perhaps the balanced style of the Verdant Deer allowed him to thrive in a way he wouldn't on a more specialized team.
It's those unexpected contributions that often make the difference in a tournament setting. Now, speaking of hidden strengths, we can't overlook the goaltenders. We already touched on Maina Minna of the Azure Bears and her incredible .928 save percentage. But consider this. She faced a staggering 194 shots in just 9 games, allowing only 14 goals.
That's like facing a firing squad out there. She was peppered with shots, but she stood tall. It really makes you wonder how the Azure Bears would have fared without her back there.
Oh, yeah.
They might have been in serious trouble.
Exactly. Her performance underscores the importance of elite goaltending, especially on a team built around defense. Now, on the other end of the spectrum, we have Mufasa Papaguava, the starting goalie for the Crimson Tigers. He finished with a respectable .891 save percentage, facing 101 shots and allowing 11 goals.
Solid numbers, but not quite the brick wall that Minna was. However, With the Crimson Tigers' high-octane offense constantly lighting up the scoreboard, maybe he didn't need to be.
Precisely. Their offensive firepower likely took some pressure off of him. This highlights a key concept in hockey, the interplay between offense and defense. It's not always about having the best players in every position, but about maximizing your team's overall performance.
So a team like the Crimson Tigers can afford to be a little less defensively sound if they're consistently generating scoring chances and burying those opportunities. It's a high-risk, high-reward approach that clearly paid off for them in this tournament.
Now let's shift our focus back to some more intriguing individual performances. I'm particularly curious about Odin LaRose on the Verdant Deer. He's a highly rated defenseman, a 90 overall, and he played in all 7 games, yet he didn't record a single point.
That's unusual for a player of his caliber. It's not like he wasn't involved either. He had 8 shots on goal. Was he focused primarily on shutting down the opposition, sacrificing offensive production for defensive stability?
That's certainly a possibility. Remember, we're only seeing a limited snapshot of his performance with these stats. Perhaps he was making key defensive plays, breaking up passes, winning board battles, the kind of contributions that don't always show up on the score sheet.
The unsung hero, the silent guardian of the blue line. I like it. And speaking of exceeding expectations, we have to mention Hami Elfkyle on the Golden Eagles. He managed 4 goals and an assist, despite playing on a team that, as we've established, struggled offensively.
His shooting percentage, .117, is actually the best on his team among players with more than 10 shots. It's almost as if he was carrying the offensive burden for the Golden Eagles.
He was a bright spot in an otherwise disappointing tournament for them. And those individual stories, those breakout performances, are what make this analysis so fascinating. It's not just about crunching numbers. It's about understanding the players, the narratives that emerge from the data. It's like we're piecing together a complex puzzle, each statistic a clue to a larger picture.
Exactly, and sometimes the most intriguing pieces are the ones that don't seem to fit at first glance. They make you think critically, consider different perspectives, and question your assumptions. This is where the real joy of analysis lies. Now, as we wrap up our deep dive into these 4 teams, I'm curious, what are your biggest takeaways? What surprised you the most?
Honestly, it's the success of the Verdant Deer that really stands out to me. They were built for balance, not necessarily dominance in any one area, but in a simulated environment. That adaptability seems to have given them a real advantage.
I agree. Their tournament win challenges conventional hockey wisdom. It suggests that in this simulated world, the ability to adapt to counter different styles of play might be more crucial than specializing in a single area. Perhaps the AI, while sophisticated, isn't as adept at adjusting to a team that doesn't fit neatly into a predefined category.
It's like the Verdant Deer were playing 3D chess while everyone else was focused on checkers. They kept their opponents guessing, never revealing their true hand. It's a fascinating insight.
And it leads us to another intriguing point. We often talk about individual player performance, but the Verdant Deer's success highlights the importance of team synergy, the collective effort that can overcome even the most talented individuals.
Absolutely. It's a reminder that hockey, even in its simulated form, is ultimately a team sport. But we also can't discount the impact of those standout players, the Mana Minas and the Tommy Elkvilles, who can elevate their team's performance even in the face of adversity.
So we've seen defensive struggles, offensive surprises, individual brilliance, and the triumph of a balanced, adaptable approach. But I think the most important takeaway is this. Even in a virtual world, the game of hockey is full of complexities, unexpected twists and turns, and moments of pure brilliance.
It's like you've given us a glimpse into an alternate hockey universe, one where the rules are slightly different, where the unexpected reigns supreme. And it makes me wonder, if you were to run another tournament, what changes would you make based on what we've discovered today? Would you double down on the Azure Bears defense? Maybe try to inject some more offensive firepower into their lineup? Or would you lean even further into the Crimson Tigers' scoring prowess, creating a team that's practically unstoppable on offense?
That's the beauty of this kind of analysis. It sparks new ideas, challenges your assumptions, and makes you want to experiment. You've created this virtual hockey laboratory, and the possibilities are endless.
A hockey laboratory. I love that. And I bet you've already got some hypotheses brewing. What if you combine the Crimson Tigers' offensive firepower with the Azure Bears' defensive structure? Could you create a truly unstoppable force, a team that dominates at both ends of the ice?
That's a tantalizing thought. Imagine a team that can shut down opponents defensively while simultaneously overwhelming them with offensive talent. It would be fascinating to see if those styles could mesh seamlessly, or if they might clash, creating an imbalance in their play.
And what about the Golden Eagles? Could you tweak their strategy, refine their aggression, without sacrificing so much defensively? Maybe focus on puck possession, creating more controlled offensive opportunities instead of just blindly throwing shots at the net.
It would definitely be a challenge, but I think it's possible. You'd need to instill more discipline in their game, teach them to pick their spots, to channel their aggression effectively, perhaps emphasize a more balanced approach, one that values puck possession and strategic positioning.
And then there's the Verdant Deer, our champions of adaptability. Would they continue to thrive in another tournament? Or would their lack of specialization become a liability against teams that have adjusted to their style?
That's the million-dollar question. Maybe their success was partly due to the element of surprise. Once other teams adapt to their balanced approach, they might need to evolve further, perhaps develop a secondary style they can employ when needed.
So many possibilities, so many exciting avenues to explore. It's been a blast dissecting these teams, uncovering their hidden strengths and weaknesses, and I can't wait to see what you do with them next. If you run another tournament, you've got to share the results. We'll be here, ready to analyze every goal, every save, every penalty minute.
Absolutely. This deep dive has been a testament to the endless possibilities of hockey strategy, even in a virtual world. Keep experimenting, keep pushing the boundaries, and most importantly, keep having fun with it.
Couldn't have said it better myself. This has been a real eye-opener, a reminder that even in the world of simulations and data, the human element, the strategic thinking, and the element of surprise still reigns supreme. Thanks for joining us on this incredible journey, and until next time, keep exploring, keep questioning, and keep pushing the limits of what's possible on the virtual ice.